Hello, my name is Jimmy Vegas and welcome to this, the fifth in a series of video tutorials on how to create a first-person shooter in Unity 5. So this episode we're going to be writing a couple of scripts which will allow us to inflict damage upon an enemy when we shoot our gun. So if you remember, up until now we've got to the point where we can fire our gun and it animates and creates the sound. So the next thing we need to do is create an enemy which we can shoot. So firstly, let's go to our scripts folder down here, right click, create, and JavaScript. And I'm going to call this hand gun damage. And we're going to go into it. And much in the same way as last week, it opens up in MonoDevelop or Visual Studio, whichever one you feel comfortable with. It's entirely up to you. So once we've got it all loaded up, same as last time, delete the lines. It is already preset for you because we're going to start from absolute scratch with this one. So with this one, there are a couple of variables we need to set. The first one, var, is going to be damage amount. So that's going to be, we'll set this as an integer. Keep it nice and simple. So int. And for now, we'll make equal 5. So that number 5 is the amount of damage our handgun will do when we fire it. So the next variable we need is going to be how far it is to our enemy. So how far away we are. And let's call this target distance. And we'll have this as a float. And if you remember, a float is not a whole number, so it can be a whole number, but it can also be a decimal number as well. And I don't think we'll set a value for that because that's something that will constantly change. The third and final variable that we're going to use is our allowed range. So how far can we be before we can actually inflict damage? So variable, and let's call this allowed range. Let's make this a float just in case. And we'll make it equal to, let's say, 15 for now. We'll see how that goes. So there we have our three variables which we'll need throughout this script. We need now to create a function which is update. So we need this to be read whenever we are going to press our mouse key or whatever you have as your fire button. So it's update, open close bracket, and then open curly bracket. Next line, we're going to have to put an if statement. So we need to check if currently the fire button is being held. So if you remember correctly here, in the same way, if input get button down, fire 1, this is on our gunfire script, we need to use the exact same if statement. So to keep things nice and simple, rather than type out there, we can just copy that first if statement from our gunfire and let's paste it right there. So it should end with open curly bracket. Now, inside this if statement, we need to set a fourth variable. This fourth variable is going to be used with our Raycast. Now, I touched on Raycast in the last episode. Essentially, all it is a means of determining how far an object is away from your player. So in this instance, it's going to only check the Raycast when we have pressed our fire 1 button, which in this case is our mouse. So I'm going to put var, and I'm going to call this shot, just keep it nice and simple. And this is going to be something called Raycast hit. And semicolon at the end. Now it starts getting a little bit complicated now because these are sort of nested functions. This is a bit like a nested if. It's an if statement within an if statement. It can get a little confusing. So if you get lost or confused or your script doesn't work, this script will be available on our website fully working for you to copy and paste. Although I don't particularly like people copying and pasting because You learn by doing, not by copying. So this next if statement is going to be if our physics dot raycast, and we need in our open brackets here transform dot position and then comma, and now this is where it gets a little bit complicated. We have to use our vector 3. Transform dot, and we need a capital T on this next transform direction, just because that's the way it is. Remember, it is cap sensitive, all this. So transform direction, and then we need to open bracket, and we need vector 3 dot forward comma shot, and then we need to open curly bracket. Let me just quickly check that line. If the rake, yes, I think that line should work. Sometimes I have a little trouble with that one. So the next one, we have to make our target distance equal to shot dot distance. So we're making our target distance equal to our shot distance, how far we are away, as determined by our raycast. So our raycast will send out a kind of a shot, if you will, to see how far away any object of the forward direction is, and it will make it shot. So then we can make the target distance equal to however far away it is. And now we get even more complicated, and I apologize, but this is game development. So if the target distance is less than our allowed range, so let's type allowed range, close bracket and open curly bracket. So just quickly recap. This target distance, so we're saying if this target distance is less than what we allow, then we perform this next action. So let's say some numbers. If our target distance is, for example, 3, and we allow anything up to 15, then this next action will be possible. So we need to kind of invoke another script which is already preset on our enemy. So as I type this, we'll be typing a couple of things which will make sense later on in this tutorial. So shot.transform send message and deduct points, and that's in a double quote there. So this here where it says deduct points, you can have this as whatever you want. If you want to have it as, I don't know, dishwasher, if you want to do that, which is a bit strange, you can have that as dishwasher. This is something that we set ourselves, which we can call later on in a separate script. You'll see what I mean in a couple of minutes time. Comma, and then damage amount. So we're sending the message of that value, and we need, in fact, we'll put send message options. We don't require a receiver, so don't require receiver. So all that really is just telling ourselves that we don't require a reply or response. So that is close bracket and then a semicolon. And now we need a couple of closed curly brackets to finish all this off. So we need a closed curly bracket for that one, the second if statement, the third if statement, and then the function. So save that script now. And hopefully if we go into Unity, we shouldn't have any. Yes, we have. Okay, so let's quickly have a look. It's telling us there's an error. Blah blah blah. Okay, so I can't see any reason why that doesn't quite work. So function update, yep. So let's see, what's this? Expecting ender file, found that. Have we done one too many? What if we save that? Clear. Okay, so it's expecting a close bracket and it found a curly bracket. So what have we done wrong here? I can't actually see a reason why this would fail. It's a little strange, but this is the fun of Unity, trying to find these things out. So that's okay. So it's expecting a closed bracket on this line for some reason. Oh, I see. We've put yeah, I think that should be 3 closed brackets there. So let's save that, and hopefully these should disappear. No, it doesn't disappear. So sorry, yes, reading through that now, I've put that in the wrong place. There should actually be a closed bracket there. My mistake. I made a bit of a boo-boo there, but not to worry. After staring at our code for a couple of minutes, we can usually find out what the problem is. So that should be it right there. And now, as we go back in, these should disappear. Okay, nope, that's... why would that come up as an error? Let's see. I guess we could always take that out. So let's take that out and save. And hopefully that clears. Yes. Okay. So there was no point having that extra little statement in there. We could always keep that out. So next thing we need to do is we need to go to, let's say, game object, and let's create just a random object. Let's go with cube, keep things simple. I'm just going to make this a little taller. Let's move it over this way and down a bit. And this is going to be our enemy. So let's rename this and just call it enemy. So the next thing we need to do is we need to create a script which we can put on our enemy. So right click, create, and JavaScript. And I'm going to call this one something really simple. Let's call this enemy script. Script. And let's open it up. This script is less complicated and it's a lot shorter than our previous one. So as always, when it loads up, delete every line it gives you. And we need to set just one variable in this. So var, and then let's call this enemy health. And we'll have this as an integer, int, and let's make it nice and simple, 10. So theoretically, 2 shots at our enemy and it should be dead. So now we need to, let's say, just have that function. And if you remember, we called it deduct points. So our function is going to be deduct points. So if you called it dishwasher, then you put function dishwasher. In brackets, we need damage amount, and that is an integer. So it's referencing our other script, and close bracket, and then open curly bracket. Next thing to do is we need enemy health less the damage amount. So what's happening there is if this function is invoked, if it is called, then each time it's called, it makes the enemy health equal and then take off the damage amount. So if our enemy health is 10, then this is called and the damage amount is 5, it then makes the enemy health equal to 5. Then if it's called again, it will make the enemy health take off another damage amount, which will make it 0. So we can close that function, and then we just need to function update, open close bracket, and then open curly bracket, and then we need a quick if statement. So if enemy health is less than or equal to 0, then we do the following. Something really simple. Destroy game object. And then semicolon. And then close curly bracket. And then close curly bracket. So all this little update is doing here is if our enemy health is equal or less than 0, it gets rid of the object. Now this destroy game object completely removes the game object from your game window, which may not necessarily be the best course of action. However, we may change this later on in a further tutorial. So for now, let's save. And hopefully if we go back here into console, no, we've got nothing referencing the script. If you have this kind of errors going on your console, don't worry, they're not too important to be honest. So next thing to do is we need to drag our enemy script onto our enemy, which was this one here. So drag and drop. Now you can see enemy health is equal to 10. Next thing we need to do is let's take our handgun damage and drag onto gun mechanics. Now this gun mechanics, if you click on it, you should see damage amount is 5, target distance 0, and allowed range 15. So I'm now going to drag and drop this game object onto our first person character. And I'm just going to zero out the position. So make it dead center of our character. Now hopefully we should see a couple of changes. So if you click on gun mechanics and then press play, and then for example shoot at this crate here, you should see the target distance has changed from 0 to, in this case, 3.07295. Let's shoot at the floor. So it's changed as again. So every time you press your fire mouse button, the target distance changes. So now let's go to our enemy, and hopefully if we shoot twice, our enemy disappears. So let's take a look at that with our enemy selected. So if you select the enemy and then press play, and down here on the bottom right, you'll see enemy health. So now if we go to our enemy, shoot, you'll notice the enemy health on the bottom right of your inspector has gone down to 5. So, and again, it disappears. You'll notice over here, it has completely disappeared out of our hierarchy. Another way to do it is to kind of disable the game object, but we, as I say, we'll get around to that possibly in a different tutorial. For now, we just wanted the gun mechanics to work to shoot things. So shoot, shoot, gone. So you could use that and multiply it. So for example, let's take this by holding control, pressing D and moving this way. And once again, let's put it about there. So now we have 3 enemies. So we could quickly shoot and they're all dead. So if you'll notice at the moment, it's quite difficult to kind of know where exactly you're pointing, which brings us on to our next episode, because I think we're going to leave this episode there for now. We've done some well with our scripts. Next episode, we're going to do a little bit of GUI. We're going to make like a crosshair. I think we may possibly animate it later on in the series. We'll see how we go with that. Eventually, with our GUI, we're going to get on to picking up ammo crates, changing our guns, displaying our ammo capacity, and different things. So next episode is going to be mainly about a bit of GUI work. See where we get to. So until next time, have play with Unity, play around with your enemies, different health, whatever. Enjoy yourself, do what you can, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you very much for watching.